We all make quick judgments. We see someone on the street in ragged clothes, holding out their hand, and we assume the worst. That's exactly what I did. But what happened next? It's something I'll never forget. I thought he was just another beggar, just another man wasting his life away. But I had no idea that this man was about to change mine forever. What he told me that day still haunts me. I was living my dream, or so I thought. A six-figure job, designer suits, the latest phone. I was climbing the ladder of success, leaving everyone behind. I had no time for distractions, no time for anything, especially not for a man sitting on the sidewalk, dirty, with a cup in front of him. I was on my way to an important meeting when I heard a weak voice. "Sir, can you spare some change?" I glanced at him, disgusted. I shook my head and walked past, thinking, get a job like the rest of us. Later that evening, I passed him again. He was still there, still begging. This time, he looked straight into my eyes and said, "You think I'm worthless, don't you?" I scoffed. "If you worked as hard as I do, maybe you wouldn't be sitting here." I walked away, proud of my words. But before I could leave, he mumbled something. It was soft, almost like he was talking to himself. But I heard it. He said, "You wouldn't last a day in my shoes." Something in his voice stopped me. He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. He just sounded tired. I turned back and asked, "What do you mean by that?" He looked up at me and said, "Sit with me for 5 minutes and I'll tell you my story." I hesitated, but something inside me told me to listen. And so I sat down beside him on that cold pavement, and he began to speak. "I wasn't always like this," he said. "I had a family, a home, a career, just like you. Then life happened," he continued. "I lost my job. My company shut down overnight. I had 2 kids, a wife, and no way to support them. I tried everything, odd jobs, selling my belongings, but one by one, I lost everything. My wife, she couldn't handle it. She took the kids and left. She told me she couldn't love a failure." His voice cracked, and for the first time, I saw tears in his eyes. I had no one left, no family, no friends, just the streets. And now I sit here, watching people like you walk past me, judging me, without knowing a thing about me. I didn't know what to say. I had assumed he was lazy, a failure, but in reality, he had fought harder than I ever had. I felt ashamed. Then he asked me something that shook me to my core. "If you lost everything tomorrow, do you really think you'd be any different?" I had no answer. For the first time, I saw things differently. How many others had I judged? How many others had stories I never cared to hear? I reached into my pocket, but he stopped me. "I don't want your money," he said. "I just wanted someone to listen." That night, I couldn't sleep. His words kept echoing in my head. "You wouldn't last a day in my shoes." And for the first time, I wondered if he was right. Since that day, I stopped judging people by their situation. Because the truth is, it could happen to any of us. The question is, if it happened to you, how would you want to be treated? Think about that next time you walk past someone in need.